and I'll be letting people in as they come in, if any more come in. So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for helping us once again. Some of you are regulars in our adjudications for our NATS student auditions. We've got some new faces as well, some folks that are helping us outside of the chapter, which again, absolutely appreciate and love the fact that we can all be in different time zones and we can still make it work. So the pool has just gotten bigger, which is wonderful. So today we're going to go through the how to adjudicate. Um, and please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions. And Jennifer Genofrio, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on that, that would be helpful. We are recording. Vanessa, you were not here when I asked if anyone would be uncomfortable if we didn't password protect this. Okay, very good. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Okay. Wow, it's so big. Ooh, I don't like it that big. Can you guys see it okay at this? Is this big enough? Okay, fantastic. So, welcome to the San Diego NATS Chapter Online Student Auditions. I'm going to talk you through essentially what the procedures are. We've got our fall auditions, which we're clearly working on now, and then our spring auditions are going to be the classical. So in case anyone's wondering, last year our turnout was so huge. For the in-person auditions, we had decided to split them up into two separate auditions this year, and so that is what we are doing. All right, so for the audition procedures, as you can see, our children, youth, and high school get 8 minutes, lower college gets 10, lower college and adult gets 10 minutes, upper college 12, and advanced college gets 15. So, when we've had the auditions in person, we've always had a timekeeper. We don't have that this year. We're relying on everyone to time yourselves, to please adhere to that time limit. We want to keep things as fair as possible for all of the singers. Please make sure that you're keeping track of the time, and stop when the time limit has been reached. Let's see, you're going to listen to the songs in the order in which they appear on the form, giving preference to the one identified with an asterisk. So the one that's identified with the asterisk is going to be the song that the singer has chosen if they make finals or are one of our, what am I trying to say? It's a tongue twister. Not encouragement award.
Yes, encouragement award, honorable mention. So an honorable mention. Yep.
Honorable mention. We do want you to watch the songs in their entirety. We know that it's not going to be possible to watch all of the songs in the entirety, and it's just like during the live auditions where a song may get cut, the last song may be cut off due to the time limit. We're also really wanting to make sure that you all know, please do not fast forward through the videos to hear a certain part or whatever. We want you to listen just as you would as if they were happening live. That's very important. And then, yes, so to preserve the privacy of everyone involved, if other videos are included in that YouTube account, please don't continue to browse. Everyone has been instructed to create a separate YouTube account for this specifically, which I have just remembered I still need to do. And then that way, everyone is adhering to the privacy. Okay.
And Stephanie, excuse me, Stephanie, I did that last night. It took all of 30 seconds.
I love it. I always think it's going to take
Create a second account.
I'm sure it's going to take an hour. I just know it. No. Okay, so then make sure that you do complete all of the adjudications. Mark a score on every sheet, and then you're going to click the submit button each time. And we're going to show you what that looks like. So just in case you're like, don't you worry, we've got you covered. And then, of course, please finish your adjudications as soon as you can. We've got some big categories that we have split up again by age just to make it a little more manageable. We've got over 110 submissions just for musical theater and CCM this year. So that's about 30 shy of what our total was last year for all of the categories combined. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really pleased with this.
Stephanie, before you move on, can I make a comment about finishing your adjudications on time?
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing, would you just scroll back to the second form there, second sheet there? This adjudication is different this year. You have a full week to complete your adjudication. So you have from October 28th to November 4th at midnight. You can do that anytime you want in those 7 days. You can start and then come back. If you're someone who likes to chunk everything together, feel free to do that. But if you want to do a little bit every day, you can do that too. So it's exceptionally flexible. You have 7 days. And when I send you everything, our registrations officially close at midnight on Monday, the 26th. So on Tuesday, the 27th, the day before the adjudication starts, I will send everyone an email with all this information, as well as the last possible time you can start your adjudication and still get it in on time. So if you are a true procrastinator, as I am, you will know that, well, I've got to start by this time or else it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So thank you. I just wanted to get those in.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so all right, so this is the part that is really super important to us. The NATS student auditions are not a general competition. So while the older categories are more likely to be career oriented, we've got a lot of youngsters who sing for the joy of it, who participate in local theaters, etc. So it's really important that the comments that we provide are constructive. We're not asking anyone to give fluff, because fluff is not constructive. We don't want to blow a bunch of hot air, but it's very important that the comments that you do give are encouraging and they're constructive, they're specific. An example, just in case you need one. Geez, Jennifer, that was such a great piece. Great, that doesn't really say a whole lot, just means that I liked it. Or Katie, that you sung that so well. Great. Or Katie, I did not like that song for you. Okay. So and I know that you all know what you're doing. Ideally, Katie, I love that song. I really appreciated how you sung the phrase da da da. There seemed to be a little breath support issue near the end, maybe nerves, maybe a little more breath, that stuff. And I know that you all know that, but I always like to put out an example just in case. So we've got rubrics. Jennifer will be sending the rubrics for you to help in constructing comments if you need it. Do consider the age level and the maturity of the singer and the score. That's very necessary. And I've got copies of the rubrics a little bit later here in the next couple slides. And then your final score is an impression of any markings you've made at the top. So again, you'll see what that looks like in the next slide. Ta-da! So, and I'll show you also, we'll do a live, I'll share the screen in the live web page. But these little guys will be able to slide. It's pretty cool. And so you can start kind of sliding things around for each song. And in here is where you'll put your comments. And this is what it will look like. And the score will be here. And Jennifer, remind me, will they need to tally it or Audition Ware is tallying it?
You just put in one score for each. So the sliders should roughly equate to your score. You do not have to average them out at all. But what they say at NATS National is if your hash marks, if your sliders are in the upper third, then chances are your score is going to be in the 90s. If all of your sliders are in the middle, then chances are your score is going to be lower than that. So if you give a 99 but then have all these in the 70s, that just simply doesn't make sense. These hash marks are really to provide a conversation starter for the teacher and their student when they look over their sheet. So if they say, why did I get an 89? Well, maybe they could work on their diction. Maybe, their expression was great, but their tone was off, So really those hashtags just give some conversation starters to the teacher and the student, and they should roughly match your final score.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not need to tally them up. No.
Okay. Melody's asking, can you give us an idea of what mark range usually looks like?
Yes. No. I don't know. Can we?
Would that be on the live?
So yes, let's talk about that. Well, let's briefly talk about it. We see all sorts of different things. And actually Stephanie's going to get in touch with let's go to the rubric before we answer that, because some people completely ignore the marking. As I said, it's the score, the final score in the comments that matters. So I like to use the marking to, again, let the teachers and the students have some sort of conversation. But we have had very few in the 70s. So why don't we go on to the rubric, Stephanie, and maybe you can do your usual rubric spiel, and that may answer Melody's question a bit better.
Okay. So with the rubric, and the thing here too, so the rubric that's been created is a big fat paintbrush. So while these things can be applied to pretty much everyone, again, I think if we're talking about a 10-year-old, you might want to, and I'm not saying pad anything, but depending on the child, you may want to give them a higher score of encouragement. I'm a tough scorer. I am very hard, and but that doesn't mean that I'm going out of my way to give people 70s, if that makes sense. I want to be able to hear what a child can do, but I know that if I'm going to be judging the upper categories, I'm going to definitely be holding them to a much higher standard than I'm going to necessarily hold a 10-year-old to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for instance, NATS National says to add the phrase for a blank level singer to the end of each of these. So for instance, at the bottom of tone, changes in registration are abrupt or uneven much of the time for a 10-year-old singer. Changes in registration are smooth and even for a 13-year-old singer. A 13-year-old singer, chances are it's not always going to be smooth and even,
right?
But it can be pretty gosh darn good, and they can be considered accomplished.
Right.
So consider where the person is in their vocal development when you take all these broad brush statements into consideration.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? Okay. All right. So we've got the rubric for tone, breathing alignment, language and diction, and then our musicianship, the artistry and expression. And then for ensemble, comment only, that is between the singer and the accompaniment or the accompanist. And so we are asking to make sure to take into consideration that this is the first time that we've done this online. And the kids, you know, this is, I'm sure most of them are probably crushing it and they're just like, oh, this is really easy. But in terms of videoing themselves and, you know, and doing the setup, doing the self tapes, this fall has been all about the self tape online masterclasses. And so there are going to probably be some clunks. We ask that you try not to be too distracted by some, you know, potential technical errors. Um, just, you know, it's a wonky time. Then we've got the CCM rubric. Oh, we got a little cut off there. But again, tone, breathing alignment, then language diction, musicianship, etc. And you'll all have access to this in the materials that Jennifer sends you.
Right. About the CCM rubric, I do want to say that CCM is not a NATS national category. This rubric, I believe, and I had meant to double check this, was created by Michelle Marquardt-Devoe and Ruth Ellis and maybe even Rachel Velarde. I believe they created this, and this was found in the NATS journal. So this is their proposed rubric, and we have used this for the last 2 years. Vanessa has a question. Are they expected to sing with live accompaniment, or are they allowed to sing with pre-recorded tracks this year? Vanessa, this year they can do either. They can, and most of them are singing with some sort of digital accompaniment. And in CCM, they are allowed to accompany themselves on a solo instrument. All digital accompaniment, though, must be solo piano. So they can't sing with an orchestrated background. And hopefully, Stephanie and I will be able to vet all those in the 24 hours on Tuesday. I also want to share what Katie Gardner said. I've never given a singer below 85, says Katie. The point is to help the singer develop as a singer artist. In my experience, it becomes very clear who the outstanding singers are in a given category, those that get 90 plus. I am personally in agreement with you there, Katie. That's if I were allowed to adjudicate, that's how I do it for other chapters. But we also we will be going into our scoring procedures, and I think that's important for you guys to all note as well. So you see which students are going to move on and how we do that here in San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alrighty. So now, okay, so our 90 cutoff. So the top 3 singers in the 90 and above will receive first, second, and third. And then honorable mention is given to everyone else in that 90 and above category. Stop! I'm gonna feed you. Sorry, cat. She gets grabby when she gets hungry. So the honorable mention is then given to those singers that have a 90 plus score but are below the 3rd place. Then our encouragement award is given if there are not enough 90 plus to place. And I believe encouragement award 2 was 85 to 90 last time. Am I right?
It typically is. We haven't set a cutoff for encouragement award. It's not a monetary award. It's more just to make sure that people know that they should keep working and come back and try again and give them that encouragement. So for instance, if there was a 95 and a 93 and an 85, that 85 would not get 3rd place, but they would be acknowledged.
Got it. Okay, very good. I was remembering incorrectly. I apologize. So then if a category doesn't have anyone in 90 and above, we have had that in the past, it's a big statement. It's a really big statement. So if that is how things are turning out, know that. Please know that. And please also make sure to, again, follow it up with the comments, follow it up with the constructive, positive comments, and constructive. So we want this to encourage everyone as much as possible. That's super, super, super important. Even though I'm a hard grader, I'm very encouraging. I know I've said that. I realize that's all on the recording, but I've said it many years in the past as well. Okay, so then for comments only, do not use those little sliders because you don't need them. You don't need to make any hash marks because you're not going to be giving a score. It's comments only. And then again, with the ensemble, you can comment on it, but please don't necessarily rule that into the final score. Be gracious with the technical difficulties, suboptimal accompaniment tracks, bad camera angles, etc. We can certainly make comments about that, just in terms of notice the lighting wasn't as great. No, this is probably a first time that you've done this. Keep that in mind the next time that you do a self tape, just stuff like that. And I have a student who is not making time for us to work on her video together. So remember that many students may just plow forward without your help, or without the teacher's help. Like, you gotta get on that. All right, so if you are a San Diego NATS member, you will log into the Audition Ware as you normally would through the nats.org account, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, if you're not a San Diego NATS member, and you have adjudicated before, like Ms. Vanessa, we will have you create an account, okay? And then,
Yes. Can I be a little bit more specific on those? Because I may need to tweak this slide before we send it out to people because I've learned more.
oh, okay.
Is that okay? Actually, if you wouldn't mind sharing the screen, I can move on to, and I can show them exactly how to do this.
Yeah, you need to, I'll stop.
I need permission.
Yep.
Sorry to have interrupted you right in the middle of your statement. I got it now. There we go. All right. So let me get going. As Stephanie said, if you are a NATS member, you're going to log in the way that you usually do. If you are not a NATS member and you have, let me share now. If you are not a NATS member and you have adjudicated with us before, you're going to go directly to auditionware.com. You already have an account. You've just never had to use it. So you're going to go straight to forgot password. And you're going to fill out, if you're not, you're going to fill out that you're a teacher, send your email. I have inputted everyone's emails. Just send it, follow the directions, and you will get your password. And you will log in directly through Auditionware. For those people who are new to us, you will do exactly the same thing. You will go to auditionware.com. You should have received an email with instructions on how to log in. But if you did not, or you can't find that, I bet you can do exactly the same thing by going to forget password, because again, your email is already in the system. The only way this may be funky is if you are a member of another NATS. Jennifer, is that you? Are you? Yes. Okay. So for some reason, I had to have Brad at Auditionware get you on specifically. So it's you and one other person. So Jennifer, when you log in, I would recommend that you go straight to the NATS website like you would typically do. Make sure you're logged in, member home. This is what everyone in NATS is going to do. And NATS audition registration. I believe you will just have to change your chapter, and because I think you're now included in our San Diego chapter. All right, for everybody else, when you log in to Auditionware, whether you've gone through the NATS website or you've gone through auditionware.com, you're going to see this in the top left. And you're going to click on View My Students / Adjudicator Schedule for San Diego 2020 Fall Musical Theater and CCM. It's the Adjudicator Schedule. This is not open right now, so we're going to go to my test. All right, when you get onto the Adjudicator Schedule, you can ignore all the printing functions at the top left for the moment. At the top, you'll see the schedule that you are, the category that you're scheduled for. In this test, I'm scheduled for adult musical theater. Ignore the room, the day, the start time, and the end time. These are all arbitrary. The only thing that matters is adult musical theater. You do not have to do this except for within that 1 week time frame that I gave you. If you have students participating in the audition, You will see them listed here in the next set of boxes. Finally, in the third set of boxes, these are the students in your category. Lucky for me, in the test, I have only 2 students. Please note, I'm just trying to move these. You're all shown. Okay, there we go. Note that it says, judges, please watch each video in numeric order as intended by each student. Typically in live auditions, students can choose their first piece. That's why it's important in these auditions that we go in the order that the students have set up. With the exception of giving preference to one identified with an asterisk, because that is their the piece they would like to show at the concert, and we would definitely want to see that. So I'm hoping a lot of people will maybe put that first. But if you're on to your second song and you're ready to choose your second of 3 songs, you're running low on time and the asterisk is third, skip ahead and go to the asterisk one. They also want you to watch this 18-minute video created by the NATS office. This is the same video if you've adjudicated for any NATS. This is the same video they've had for years. If you haven't seen it, give it a quick look through. They talk about rubrics. They talk about using the adjudicating using the paper sheets, which is very similar to online, as well as scoring. But we have gone through some of that here. I'm going to send you the rubrics. We're going to go through the using the form online here, and you know about how we score in San Diego. Okay, so notice I've got singer number 4, singer number 6. These are the URLs. I recommend you don't go straight there because you're going to need the sheet anyway. So go over to where it says judges score, and on your sheet, it will say add, not edit. Click on add. And that pulls up their adjudication form. Now, there was a typo, there was a mistake here, and we got an actual name. You should have a singer number. If you have any form that has a name on it, contact me directly, please. We really want our adjudications to be anonymous. I don't believe that will be an issue, but this was before I fixed that problem. So we're just going to ignore Kyle's number here. He's number 4. Note that in the top of this one, there's a checkbox here. Check to hear is singing for comments only. This person does not want to be in the running for first, second, and third. This person only wants comments. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there is no place for scoring. So that's wonderful. You can't mistakenly goof. In the slideshow, I said you don't have to use these. They are allowed if you want to use them to, again, give feedback to the teacher as part of your comments. You're welcome to use them for comments only, but you don't have to. So each of the 3 selections are down below on the same sheet with a YouTube link to each. Start with the first one, click the YouTube link. You get to see the swarm of bees when I was building outside my house. You listen in its entirety. You make comments, blah, blah, blah. All right, then you listen to the second one and the third, etc. You can go back and forth as much as you want. Remember, you're going to keep track of your own time. When you click on the YouTube, it says how long this is. Look, this video is only 13 seconds. So you can mark that down. My video number 1 is 13, and just add it up as you go. Stop when the time has occurred. Note, yay, great. You will give better comments than that. But note, at the top of the page, it says this page will time out in 30 minutes. Please save any changes after 15 and return to edit this form. The board members who tested this for me did get stuck because when you leave to go watch the video, this is still on time. So if you leave to watch the video, you pause this, or you stop after the video, go get a cup of coffee. Next thing you know, your comments are gone. So just hit submit often. I suggest hitting submit after each song. As soon as you hit submit, data saved. Then you can come in and you can add this song and submit. Again, the old-fashioned way of saving your work so you don't lose your term paper. This pulled up on a separate tab. So you just close the tab and notice that I'm back to my audition sheet and it doesn't have my score or anything. Now this was comments only, so it wouldn't have score. But if you just refresh, if there was a score, it would come up. So let's take a look at our second student here. I've done my first adjudication. I'm going to my second one. It's little Kim Salt and Pepper. And she's singing Back to the Forest, Somebody Somewhere, Glitter and Be Gay. I listen. It happens to be our very own Kimberly Mahler. We're gonna watch this as long as it takes. I'm gonna go back and forth. I'm gonna say, oh, that's great. And you know what? Oh, that's really good. And this is great. But as I watch the next one, I'm gonna say, maybe I'll move that down a little bit. Or you know what? The diction was wonderful. This is really annoying that it's kind of grabbing a little low. I'm gonna give my comments, save it, and then go watch the second one. This one's only 53 seconds, so I'll note it. Go back, make my notes. Yay! Save it. Data saved. Watch the third one. Okay. Comments. And I'm going to give a final score. Most of these are in the 90s. She needed a little bit more artistry. That is not what our Kimberly needs. So I'm going to say this is these are pretty good. So I'm going to say this is a 92. Again, this is arbitrary. I don't have to base it off of this. I can say, I think this is a 92 score. I submit. I can close this sheet. Go back, notice the score is not there. I hit refresh and I see my score. And anytime I want to go back and edit, I can do that.
Right.
So you can go back if you think that you've made a mistake or you want to take another listen. In regards to stopping at the time, I'm sure there are some performances you are going to want to finish. And so I ask that you mark down that performance, stop it when it is, and when you're done with your adjudication, go back and rewatch to your heart's content. Mm-hmm. But I do ask that you try to restrain yourselves as much as you can, as good as these kiddos are, to stop at the time, because that is what it would be in a live event. And the reason we have the time in this event is not only for our ease, so that it doesn't last 14 hours, but also so that everyone gets the same amount of listening time, a fair shake. If you allow someone to sing for 15 minutes and the other one sang for 8, it's just not equitable. So if you want to hear that third piece, just mark it down and go back and listen later. That's what I'm asking of everybody.
Jennifer, there was a question.
Yes.
Melody asked, will selection 1, 2, and 3 on that page include the asterisk? And Melody, I don't know if you can see or not. Oh, I was actually going to show.
Oh, okay.
Could you go back?
Yes.
So over, yeah. So there is the asterisk in the title. You see where those are? And
that title is also red.
Yeah.
Once I click on the links, you won't be able to see the stars anymore, like when you're in the adjudication page.
I would love to know if that's going to be the case, and that's an excellent question, and I'm going to ask Brad to make sure that happens. Let's hope that he can work his magic and do that, because on this page, there's nothing. Again, this was my test. This was earlier, so it's possible things have been tweaked since then, but that is a great comment, and I'm going to make a quick little note there. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So sliders are the general impression of the song. Yes, they are the general impression. The sliders are the general impression of the songs combined. Yes, excellent. Are there any more questions about the adjudication process and the online adjudication process?
And there are no dumb questions, because this is an important thing. Yeah.
JD, hi.
I have a question. If I remember correctly, in past adjudicating, they would say all of their songs at the very beginning and then sing their songs. so it wouldn't take time out of their song time, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. This year, they're introducing each song before each song.
Mhm.
Are we to pause the timer for that introduction, or does that eat into their 8-minute time?
We haven't specified. It doesn't have to be. It could be 8 minutes, 15 seconds. I mean, they're really only saying, "Hi, my song. I'm singer number 4. I'm singing blank from blank by blank." It should take
Right.
about 10 seconds. So I wouldn't be too conscious of that. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
And in the past, in live auditions for San Diego, we only ever had them introduce their first song, and then the judges would pick the other two. So
Got
it
it.
doesn't change too much. Yeah.
Okay.
They'll actually have more singing time here because they're not waiting for the judges to finish up writing their
Right.
sentence. So
Right.
we'll hear a little bit more.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Just with the sort of submitting is like saving.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So once we say I decide to do this hypothetically over, I don't know, 3 nights or something like that. And then I've gone and I've done them all. And then I decide to go back and like rewatch and re-edit and that sort of thing. So when I submit it, it is saving, but it's not actually submitting the final thing. Is that correct?
Saving, it's one and the same. It's one and the same. There is no final submission. When the system knows adjudication is over, whatever you've put in there is saved.
So as long as it's
That's
done by midnight on 10/11/4.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
correct.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
I have
Yes,
a question. So with the timing, and I understand we absolutely need to be lenient on all of these things because of the new format. So I'm assuming that when we're writing notes, this time it's not part of the audition. It's basically how long each video is. So
Right.
I can talk about my own students. I have some that are right in 8 minutes. I have some that are doing those big honking pieces. So,
Right.
so if there's a 4 minute, a 2 minute, 45 seconds, and then another 4 minute, you would just stop the song
In
2
the
minutes or whatever into it.
Exactly, just like you would if the timekeeper called time in a live audition. They would
Okay.
stop them mid-song, or if there's only 30 seconds left, they may not even start the third song. That does happen in the live auditions. And yes, this could potentially mean that you may be spending a little bit more time if you choose to watch each song completely and then take your notes. You as the adjudicator would be donating a little bit more of your time. If you do them together at the same time, then that's probably a little bit more in line with what it would be like in a live audition.
Right, but just not like if we're clicking around and going back and forth and it takes us 5 hours, you know, to figure it out. And I'm talking about me. I'm not the most technically savvy person. We shouldn't even include that at all in the audition. It's just their singing time.
Yeah.
I believe it should be singing time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know as I was running through the tests that that Jennifer gave us a while ago, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve for sure, and the students should not at all have any of that dinged against them. Yeah.
Okay.
You can also, I would suggest you keep a tally sheet beside you and just make some notes on there if you don't want to go back and forth. Make some notes on there, for instance, for these sliders, if that's what you're most concerned about, or some brief notes on the comments, and then write them in more sentence form in between the songs. That would be my recommendation. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, well, we thank you so much for donating your time, for being flexible with this new format. I think the fact that we have 110 students, which is about 30% more than we have last year, is in part to this format. I think it's allowing more people to participate. Yes, Carolyn, wow. I think it's allowing more people to participate. Hopefully it's also our new categories. They're finally getting a little bit more, people are getting more interested in the categories. But it really, the point of these auditions from my point of view as the coordinator is the comments from their professional community that we supply them. And I think that is the most important thing they can do. I think having them submit their videos is a new experience for many kids and is going to be wonderful for them. But in general, your comments should be why they do this. And I can't thank you enough, especially those of you who are outside of our chapter and don't need to be here. I really, really appreciate your helping us out. We needed it this year. So it's just so much great gratitude for you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Vanessa.
A little question. So how many adjudicators are adjudicating each category?
As usual, there are 3 adjudicators in each category. We have 10 categories, and due to the online nature, I did not give anyone 2 categories. Sometimes I've given 2 or 3 if they're smaller, and we're doing it all in one day. But this is just going to be a bit more involved. So we needed 30 adjudicators this year.
Gosh, wow.
And we got them, and we have a few backups, and it's just fabulous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that's the first time ever.
It is. It's usually we're scrambling.
Well, it's normally for one specific day where there's that window of time, so it helps with people, and also people generally are more available at the moment, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with it being a full week, I'm hoping that that's actually going to be helpful for people. Melody asks, so every singer will get heard 3 times? Yes, they will. How many singers do we each have? That depends. When I sent you your email, I did let you know how many singers were in the category. We keep it to under 20 per category, but this year we're getting close. So one category has 2, the upper musical theater has 2, but some of the high school and lower college, they have 15, 16, 17. So you're going to want to spread that out, Vanessa, over the few days. But we also have 14 CCM this year, where we had 8 last year. So I think that's great. We've got more people interested in that. And I really appreciate JD helping out with that last year, and Danielle and JD helping out with that this year. And I forget what I gave you, Jennifer and Melody. I don't remember if I gave you guys CCM or musical theater.
I think maybe it was high school CCM. But
Okay,
you said,
super.
you did tell me in your message, you said it was adult CCM, and then you went, oops, and I wasn't sure if you'd edited the number when you said oops, so.
Oh, they're the same. The number's the same. No, I hate conversing via Facebook. I made so many mistakes. But Katie, it's always hard to place you because you've got students in every single category. Same thing with Carolyn. She had tons of students this year. So hopefully we gave you categories that you guys feel you can be successful on.
Okay, so I think that concludes it. Again, we cannot thank you all enough, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.